Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here with, I guess you could call this a hot take. Um, it's about liars. And the reason I got to address this is due to comments in my YouTube uh, section. Now that things are starting to heat up again on my channel, thank you very much for subscribing, by the way. We're at 2,072. I was taking it on the chin for a few days, and then suddenly my subscribers went right back up again. Um, so I'm perfectly fine with arguing with the haters, because I'll just ban them if they get too out of hand or rude. I don't like rudeness. I don't like rudeness in my comments, so please don't be rude. Um, but if you're cheeky, that's fine. But I find myself arguing with some of the Trump fans now. First off, Trump fans, I am with you. So even though I may doubt things from time to time, um, it's important that we sort of respect that some of this information, and there's a lot of information coming out, may not be exactly true. Okay, so some of you are blasting. First off, the 9/11 truther guys. I don't know how you ended up on my channel, but I'm not talking about that. I don't care about the whole truther movement. That's not my thing. I don't want to get into it, and definitely don't want to get into it in the comment section of a video that has nothing to do with 9/11. I made a comment about 9/11. Let's not get into the conspiracy theory, please. But one of you guys was arguing with me because you said I was demoralizing people. I'm not trying to demoralize anyone, but I do have my doubts about certain things. Okay, I'd be happier than anybody if Trump pulls this out, but I'm worried that he won't be able to, and that's not because he's incompetent or lying or whatever. I think it's because he's up against, you have to understand the tremendous force he's up against. He's up against, billionaires and the military industrial complex. And these guys, I worry that they'll take him out. That's my biggest worry. That they'll go after Trump and they'll just decide, okay, he's going to beat us. We can't let him, and that they'll initiate the big plan. Now, you guys have been talking about the head of the CIA, Gina Haspel, and the rumor, and it's still just a rumor. It may be true. I doubt it. It sounds too fantastical to be true. But the rumor is she was in Frankfurt when they seized the servers and they arrested her, or the other rumor is they killed her, or they shot her and she survived, but they took her to Guantanamo, and en route she confessed and decided to work with Trump. I don't think that sounds too fantastic to me. At best, I think the story would be something like they arrested her. I could see them arresting her if they caught her involved with rigging the election, but they pretty much have to catch her red-handed. I mean, red-handed, which may explain why the raid happened in Frankfurt. That may be why. They caught her red-handed in a foreign country messing with the elections. Boom. No question, they could capture her as an enemy combatant. I don't think they dragged her to Guantanamo Bay. I don't think they needed to do that in order to threaten her. I think it would have been very simple to threaten her and say, listen, we're going to put you in the deepest, darkest black site we have, and you're never going to get out for the rest of your life. And we're going to tell everybody you died of natural causes, and good luck ever seeing your family ever again. Sure, they could have done that to her. Did they? Again, it could be something as boring as they confronted her and she got mad and they just arrested her and she's lying low because that's part of their deal. But regardless of what happened, there's no point in us arguing about it in the comments. It's fine to discuss it it's fine to disagree, but just because I don't believe it doesn't mean I don't want Trump to win. I do want Trump to win. I think Trump's going to win in court. I think he's going to get to SCOTUS because I think SCOTUS is very, I don't think they're beholden to Trump, but I think they're very disposed towards him. But they're all waiting for their moment. You know, Trump just gave this big speech, and he seems to have been very good at waiting for the perfect time to do this. So I think he's waiting for the perfect time, and SCOTUS, who I'm sure he's had conversations with, they're waiting to coordinate the perfect time too. Because when it comes to a big government, that's what they do. They want to make everything look right. So how is it going to look if they just rush into this? They're not. They're going to cue it up in such a way that it looks good, that people can go, okay, that makes sense. If they don't do it that way, if they purposely, just rush it, then people are going to go, whoa, wait, that doesn't seem right. So Trump is very aware of the optics, and he manages those. Excuse me, that's one of his strengths. So I think, I think that's what's kind of happening behind the scenes. On top of the fact that who knows about this battle that he's waging, this legal battle, this political battle, this power battle. I'm really not sure where people land on this or how much leverage Trump actually has. Because who knows? Who knows? If it came right down to it and Trump pulled out martial law, there would be people who might say, start counting heads and say who's going to, which generals are going to support Trump. Are the generals going to support Trump? Or is like 3 of them going to support Trump and 1 supports Biden, and Biden, he's got the Air Force on his side, but, the Navy and the Army and Marines are with Trump. Like, that would be a disaster, right? On a whole lot of ways. So, and it could turn into a shooting civil war, and we don't want that. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. I don't think it's going to happen. It feels to me like the Democrats know they're going to lose this confrontation. They probably know what's coming or have seen it, and they're just hanging back, trying to make the best of that situation. And that's what it feels like to me. Because, the main piece of evidence is Kamala Harris hasn't given up her Senate seat. So everybody's telling Trump, listen, you're not the president anymore. It's president-elect. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris is still Senator Harris because she's not giving up her seat. You'd think she would if she actually believed she was the VP. That's a sign that the Democrats know this isn't over yet. But they're, putting on this front in order to pressure Trump and keep their base going and keep them as angry as possible. And that's, they're tuning out. The base is tuning out. Not on the Trump side, although a little, but mostly on the Democratic side. They're done. They're like, we won. And, Tim Pool's saying, I don't think you won yet. And they're like, oh, no, we won. But, and in terms of the evidence you have regarding, the CIA chief, I'm not calling anybody a liar, but there are people who exaggerate quite a bit. And I wanted to tell this story. All right, listen, I'm going to put you on the floor squirming so I can tell my story. So I had a friend who we were pretty tight for a while, but he had this habit and / ability that whenever we were sitting around telling stories, he always had a better story. He had to top you in stories. And the way he did that was he exaggerated or lied, And over the years, his lies got bigger and bigger and bigger, in my view. I kind of tolerated it for a long time until it got too out of control and I finally had to walk away. But, I'll give you an example of the first time I was like, I knew that our friendship was doomed we were at a comic book convention, and he was an artist, and he got called into this meeting with a bunch of guys who were trying to put together a low budget monster movie based on a comic book, an independently produced comic. And he came out of the meeting and he announced that the movie would be out in August. The only problem was it was mid-May, and he had never directed, and he was going to be the director, and he had never directed a movie before. And the moment he announced that, I pulled him aside and I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm going to make this movie." I go, "No, you're not." I said, "That's not." I said, "You can't possibly direct and shoot and edit a movie and release it in under 2.5 months. It's just impossible." I said, "You'd have to do it trauma style and or shoot it all in one room like it was Closet Land starring Alec Rickman." And it wasn't that kind of movie. It wasn't the kind of movie you could just shoot in a room. It was a monster movie. It took place half in the woods and half in like cabins and stuff. There was no way he could shoot it in that amount of time. And he just grossly exaggerated and overestimated his abilities. He was not a movie director. He claimed to have directed a play, but looking back on it, I don't even know if that was true. So, you know, it just was infuriating because he defended that position that day for a while, and then, of course, not only did the movie, you know, he didn't direct the movie. Like, no movie came out in August. I think it came out like a year later, and he had nothing to do with it. So, and he was a bit of a perfectionist in his art, and I know him. He would not. He you know, you maybe could have shot the movie Trauma style, and it would have been like, you know, really crappy, but it would have been kind of funny. And I know him. He wouldn't have been interested in doing a movie like that. So, you know, and he lied about that. And then one time, the final straw for me was me and my wife at the time were at a convention, and we were chilling afterwards with him and one of his fanboys, and he was telling the fanboy a story about how the FBI had recruited him to help profile serial killers. And that was just too much. It was way over the top. I had known him for a few years at that point, and there was no way I believed a word of that story. You know, he had exaggerated in the past, and he had some great artistic skills, but, you know, his story about being a FBI profiler or trained to be one was utter complete bull to me. So, you know, at that point, I still tried to stay friends with him, but I couldn't hang out with him anymore after that. It was too much. He wouldn't stop lying. And I had warned him a few times. I said, "Dude, you have to stop lying to me. It's like too much. It's, you know, you don't have to make up these fantastic stories." And so some of these guys on the internet regarding the CIA chief or any of the crazy rumors you might hear, it's a guy on InfoWars talking, you know, about stuff, and there's the QAnon stuff. You know, some of it might very well be true, and a lot of it's not going to be true. It's just not. You know, the QAnon stuff, if it's true, it'll be the first time in history stories like that are true. So I'm not 100% discounting it, but it's pretty not true. It's pretty, you know, pretty LARPy. It's interesting. It's fun to speculate. I do it all the time on my channel, but you have to roll it back if you want to actually make gains in this, because my friend ultimately hurt himself because you do that. Stop, Joe. You do that a few times, and you hurt your credibility. You destroy the trust in your name, and you just never get it back. You know, Alex Jones is fun to watch, but he's never going to get the credibility back of a guy who just started a news channel. He's just not, in my view. You know, he'll always be crazy conspiracy theory guy, and that doesn't mean he doesn't have a few stories or guests that have true information or some partial true information. But it does mean you can't, you know, you have to parse that out, and that doesn't make him, in my view, a reliable source. He's not really trying to be a reliable source. And in his defense, like, I'm not really trying to be all that reliable, but at least I'm sort of trying to flag myself when I'm speculating or I'm not. He's kind of like blending the two together, which makes it more fun and interesting, I guess. But ultimately, it's, you know, you have to take it with a huge grain of salt. Now, some of these internet rumors about the head of the CIA might be true, or she might just show up in a few days, totally unharmed, going about her business and handing off, you know, the CIA duties to the next CIA head that Biden has picked. If that happens in a few days, are you going to be shocked? And what are these guys going to do? Are they going to admit, well, we got that story wrong, or, well, are they going to craft like an elaborate, you know, story of why she's back, or how they got a look-alike or clone or whatever? So you have to kind of have some corroboration in your evidence, a little bit of it, you know. And I get it. The regular media, it's a total blackout on certain topics. Hunter Biden, his laptop, and you know. But Hunter Biden's laptop, I saw Hunter Biden's pictures on the laptop, and I saw the information. It was corroborated by other sources, including one of his own business partners. So we need that corroboration for the Gina Haspel rumors before we run around and call them true, or otherwise it probably hurts Trump. If that's a totally fake story, it's just going to hurt Trump in the end, because they're going to call all his followers crazy right-wing conspiracy nuts. And you don't want to be that. You want to be at least credible right-wing nut. So, and again, you know, my friend, he wasn't a bad guy, but he just couldn't help himself. Even when I told him, look, you don't have to lie to me, he still did it. And did he believe it? I couldn't tell you, but he kept lying to me until I just couldn't be around him anymore. You know, because it destroyed our friendship. His lies, they are the opposite of friendship or trust, or, you know, it destroys relationships. Lying destroys relationships. Don't do it. If you have any respect for people you have a relationship with, never lie to them. Just don't. It does too much damage, and it's damage, most of which you can never undo. So, on to the next video.